he screams so loud that the fucking buildings, like the windows or whatever, like shatter. And
Alright everyone, hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Screenplay Archaeology podcast. I'm your host Kiramadad.
And I'm ShadowPred, finally back.
He finally got over his intense trauma he suffered at the hands of the Crow 2037. And,
oh, man.
And I successfully managed to traumatize Deus Deacon with Freddy vs. Jason. Although that probably pissed me off more than it did him. But, alright, the subject at hand today that we're talking about is, since, this month of March is, the month that the new Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie is coming out, I figured we'd talk about the first attempt at doing a Batman vs. Superman movie back in 2002, which is codenamed Asylum, so whatever the hell I'm going to have to title this episode, Batman vs. Superman Asylum, or AKA Asylum, or just Asylum and surprise everybody. I don't fucking know.
Go for that.
Yeah.
Or just Asylum.
Yeah, but then no one's going to know what it is, and they're going to know what it is as soon as I share it to, the Batman subreddit or something. So, who knows. But, okay, the basic setup for this plot before we get into the background is, do you want to do it or should I?
You should go for it.
Alright, I'll go for it. The plot is that it's vaguely, loosely connected to the old Batman movie series, and it's this weird sort of, Batman and Superman have both been doing this superhero thing for a while, and Superman's life is in the shitter because he's divorcing Lois Lane because apparently being Superman leaves no time for marriage or something. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne is really happy. He's been retired for 5 years since Dick Grayson was murdered, and by the way, they never go into any detail about that, and Commissioner Gordon has died, Alfred has died, everyone's dead, Dave, but Bruce is now getting married to this perfect woman named Elizabeth Miller, because Miller, huh? And, well, during their honeymoon, she gets killed by a bumblebee dart, which is coated with Joker toxin, I think they say. And so he goes nuts, super, super nuts, and goes I'm gonna kill whoever did this, and Superman's no, Bruce, you can't do this shit. He goes well, fuck you, Superman, this is your fault anyways, which we'll get into that when we go into more detail. And so they both do their investigations. Well, I should say they both do their investigations, but Superman actually goes and sits on his ass for about 20 pages. And so they're doing their investigations, and then plot twist, plot twist, plot twist, action scene, action scene, action scene. Does that cover it?
That's pretty much it.
Without giving away the twists just yet, obviously. But
yeah, those are the major bullet points of what actually happens, because almost nothing happens, but when it does, it's hard to forget any of it because there's just so few.
I almost feel like
between.
I don't need to take notes on this thing because there's just so little going on in it. Now, this thing was written by Andrew Kevin Walker, and it was revised by Akiva Goldsman. Now, I don't know who wrote what, but I expect a better script from Andrew Kevin Walker than this. Because, 7, really good movie. 8mm, alright. The Wolfman, but I don't know how much of that movie he actually wrote, so.
Yeah, true that.
But yeah, and I'm guessing some of the stuff Akiva Goldsman wrote on this were some of the really awful one-liners. I'll talk about them when we get into it, but I think since he wrote Batman and Robin, I think he might have been responsible for some of just the cringeworthy dialogue here. It wouldn't surprise me.
Jesus. I don't even remember any.
Oh, I remember
dialogue.
a few. There's some, how do I describe it, buddy cop dialogue.
Really?
Towards the end, and there's a terrorist guy at the beginning who goes ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and then sprays kryptonite dust in Superman's face. But, okay, the background for this thing is that, okay, you have, starting in the 70s, you had the Superman movies, and I still haven't seen all of them. I really like the first one for the most part. I think it's great up until he becomes Superman, and then it just gets a little bit too camp for me, but it's still a really good movie after that. What do you think?
Yeah. I think so too. I always loved them, so I always have this huge bias when it comes to anything that I've seen as a kid, where 20 years later I'll be going, nah, that shit's still cool. Fuck
it's still pretty cool, but there's just the humor goes into overdrive in the second half of the movie in places, and it gets worse as the movies go on. And then Superman 2 I've seen, and I like it. I think it's perfectly good. I think it could do without some of the people getting blown away from telephones and stuff, and the rednecks, because like Zod spends like half the movie in like some redneck town, which that's not Houston, by the way. I'm living in Houston right now. Houston doesn't look like some Wild West town. And like the Mount Rushmore thing, but I mean it's a pretty fun movie on the whole. And of course, the amnesia kiss at the end, that's a classic. I watched about half an hour of Superman 3, and I didn't hate it, but it didn't really stick with me all that well.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that one. I think I've tried to, but I don't think I ever stuck with any of it. Because I just remember
it's like, oh, Clark is going home to Smallville, and then because they need to cram in a Superman scene, they have him pass by this chemical plant that has something going wrong with it. And I'm like, just move along with the plot. And then I haven't seen Superman 4, but I've seen enough clips of it to know it's not good.
Yeah, I've seen that thing like twice now.
Which the only reason they made that was because Cannon told Christopher Reeve they'd let him write and direct, which might not have been such a good idea. But okay, that's the existing Superman movies. And we covered Batman pretty much ad nauseum in the Year One episode, and I've discussed Batman twice when I did Batman 2, so we can keep this brief. I'll do mine just real quick. I love 89. I think Returns has some strengths, but it's not one of my favorites. I think Forever is just this side of okay, but the bad stuff is really bad. Batman and Robin, everyone knows what everyone thinks about that movie, so no need to talk about it. And I forgot to talk about the later Superman movies, holy crap. But rebooted Batman, I love the Nolan trilogy. I have some gripes here and there with it, but I still like it on the whole. And what I've seen of the new Batman vs. Superman movie, I think Ben Affleck's really good, so...
Yeah, like that's like the only thing from Bat v Supes that I think's gonna be good, any good. Like I'm excited. After the last trailer where we're seeing Batfleck doing the Arkham Asylum freaking Batman moves and shit. That alone, I was like, okay, I'm excited. I'm even more excited now for the solo Batman movies. But Batman vs Superman for this year, no thanks.
I'm somewhat looking forward to it, but I am a little trepidatious after the third trailer showed everything.
Yeah, they showed way too much, like way too much. I don't know why the hell they needed to show Doomsday, and adding in Doomsday was just pretty dumb because you don't add in a character who pretty much killed Superman before they reversed that shit in a few months or so, and then just shove him in here in this movie.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the hell Snyder is thinking, where like he already said that there's gonna be more of Doomsday later on, and I'm just like, God damn it, Snyder, did you just have to cram in every single little thing that you could in order to build like a fucking universe for theaters here? Like everything's already gonna be in this movie.
The whole thing with Doomsday is that I'm not a huge Doomsday fan anyways. I think he was cool in Death of Superman, and then every time they brought him back, it's like he was less cool every time.
Yeah, because he's just a giant killing machine that just made just to kill Superman.
Because I mean, okay, I read Death of Superman. He's pretty cool there. And then I have I don't have it anymore, but I used to have this big omnibus trade paperback of like all the Doomsday stories.
The only other one that I read was this one where Doomsday came back, and then there was this one fight with Wonder Woman, and then you had Superman getting this dumb-looking fucking costume that I can't remember what the title of it was, but I remember I had like the Doomsday toy and that exact Superman costume with like the fucking belts and shit and the pouches, and I'm like, oh, so this is where this shit came from, and I don't know what to think. Like, it's just, too extreme bullshit. I don't know.
It was just, the one I had was like, it had the first story where they had the rematch and Superman still had his mullet, and that's where you got the Doomsday origin, and that one was good, but then every other time he would come back, it's like, oh, Doomsday again. It's like, and then Brainiac merges with Doomsday in one, and I'm like, okay, just stop. And then there was one where like President Lex clones Doomsday, and then he puts up the Joker to like break him out of like his clone prison. It was dumb, but yeah, there's that. I mean, whatever. It could end up being okay. I don't know. It's just they didn't need to show him in the trailer.
Yeah, like I have no hope for it, but I hope it's good, because why hope that it's crap?
I want to hope that it's good because I like that they're seemingly trying to tell an interesting story with that movie. Unlike this script, which we'll get to, but so your quick thoughts on the Batman movies before I get to those two Superman movies I forgot about.
Well, Batman '89, obviously, it's like a classic in my mind. I like it simply because Jack Nicholson's like fucking
Never
in this.
Another Man's Rhubarb.
Batman Returns is my favorite one. I think it's probably because that's the first one that I watched.
Yeah.
But I really like it. Like the whole just Tim Burton's aesthetic and the whole things. And it was my first Batman movie that I saw, so I was like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. The next one, what the hell is it called? Batman Forever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Oh man, I don't know. I think I really like Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne. I really like him like that because like just the way that character was played out in that movie was like so different compared to the last two and even Batman and Robin. It's like a unique Bruce, I think, because out of those four movies, that's like the one that kind of stands out to me only because it was during that time where it was going to be a really, really bad movie, but you're like, oh shit, Val Kilmer, like, he's actually trying and actually pulling it off, I think.
Pretty decently for that, although certain things bring it. I think Jim Carrey, considering, they basically hired him on to do his Jim Carrey shtick, he does okay. It's Tommy Lee Jones who just stinks it up. and Nicole Kidman stinks it up in that movie, too. Because the way that movie is cut together, because it wasn't originally written or shot like this, but the way it's cut together, it looks like her whorishness is the whole reason the Riddler exists. Because she turns on because in the movie as it stands, the reason why Bruce Wayne brushes off Edward Nygma is because he sees the bat signal, and then he gets there, it's because she turned it on and she's in her underwear. But the way it was originally shot is that was like the opening of the movie. It was him, like he sees the bat signal and then he goes to the Two-Face thing. So that makes more sense, but someone got the idea to like cut the movie up.
Yeah, I recently watched it like last year, and I don't think it's like fun at all. Batman and Robin, on the other hand, that may be a bad movie, but you have to enjoy it because it's so dumb. It is so dumb that I cannot like say, okay, this movie's so fucking bad, I need to walk away right now. Like every time that it comes on, I'm just okay, I need to see this because it's so stupid, but
honestly,
it's fun,
the only thing I have fun with in that movie is Arnold, because his one-liners are terrible, but that's kind of his thing, so he knows how to do that.
Oh man, that reminds me how like in the Batman TV show, the one from the 2000s.
Wasn't he in a block of ice in that?
Yeah, when Mr. Freeze first came out, that entire episode was filled with so many puns that I think it even outdid the Batman and Robin for sure. It was ridiculous.
How does he compare to Gotham's Mr. Freeze?
I don't know, man. Gotham's Mr. Freeze is going to be appearing on Monday.
They've been showing so many pictures, I thought he was already on it, but no.
Nah, dude, they just took a long fucking break.
No, I don't know. I haven't been watching it, so too many fucking superhero TV shows. I had to give up one.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I don't even have time for Supergirl. Which now I'm going to have to catch up on, because Flash is going to cross over. Bastards. But, okay, quickly do the Nolan trilogy, and then we'll cover the two Superman movies I forgot about.
Alright, the Nolan trilogy. I didn't like Batman Begins. I still don't, but I appreciate it, especially now. The Dark Knight, obviously, that one sold me like crazy. I was like, oh my god, dude, like, when I saw that shit in the theaters, I was like, god damn, this isn't even a fucking Batman movie anymore. It was just too good. The Dark Knight Rises, looking back on it now, I think I don't know, I still like it, but at the same time I'm going, I probably have to rewatch it just to see what are the things that I probably don't like about it. Because I know for a fact that I completely ignored anything that when I was watching the first time, I completely ignored everything that I didn't like and then just focused on everything that I liked, because I'm going, okay, this movie has to be good, you can't fucking do this bullshit where the third movie is a piece of shit, compared to the second movie.
Yeah, my thing with that movie is that I do really like it, but there's a few things where I'm like, well, why did you do that? Like, it needed to be like 15 minutes longer, for one thing. Because you could tell they're rushing to get to the finale a little bit by the end and taking a few shortcuts. And then they build up Matthew Modine's little side character, and then he gets killed by an edit. Because they cut his 5-second death scene out of the movie because they needed to make it 5 seconds shorter, I guess. But okay, so yeah, there's those movies. Now to get back to Superman, Superman Returns. I barely remember anything about that movie, so that tells you something. And I think I've seen it twice, and I barely remember anything about it except Kevin Spacey was ridiculous in it.
Yeah, I've seen it twice too. The first time I watched it like on this bootleg with freaking I think Chinese or Japanese subtitle, I forget. And I was just there for the nostalgia trip. That's the only reason I was there.
That's the only reason Bryan Singer signed on to that movie was nostalgia trip. And say what you will about all those unmade projects, at least it felt like they were trying something with Superman Returns. It's just like, no, I'm making a pseudo sequel to Donner. Fuck.
Yeah, the movie was just fucking boring, man. And then the stupid fight against the Kryptonite Mountain Island thing. I don't know what that was about.
When it started becoming a thing in both. Well, it's a thing in the X-Men movies too, where the big set piece is big shit getting lifted.
I don't know. Probably just some higher up says, we gotta have shit blowing up or something.
Because from like X-Men 3 on, the big set piece of each X-Men movie is Magneto picking up something heavy.
All right.
Which I wonder if that's gonna be the big ending of Apocalypse. Magneto picks up the entire planet this time.
I hope he kills Apocalypse. He needs to, man.
Fassbender is too. Although Fassbender versus Oscar Isaac, that's a battle of awesome right there.
It has to happen.
He's gonna kill everybody in Alien Covenant.
Oh, right.
Both versions of him in that movie. But okay, yeah. And Man of Steel. I'll get mine out here on it because I'm so middle of the road on this movie that my opinion is just no one cares. Is that I like it okay. But what kills me about it is that it feels like it's not even interested in telling the story. It feels like, okay, let's shove all the plot into the first half of the movie, get him in the suit as quickly as possible, and then go smash for the rest of it. And it has like this really kind of clumsy narrative structure where it's in flashback for no reason. And then it's really repetitive, and it's like they have like Kevin Costner gives the same speech twice. And they explain Krypton twice. And I'm like, I like a lot of this movie, but like at the same time, it's like, wow, this is not very well put together.
Yeah, like
go on your
for me, rant. Yeah, I'm not gonna go on a rant at this point. It's just like for whoever's listening, if you've heard every single rant about this movie, if you've read up on so many different ones, just mash them all together. That's me all the way.
And it's one where it's like, and it's a good thing David Goyer got booted out of the DC extended universe because
definitely.
I mean, I know Goyer wrote a Flash script, and I can't imagine how bad that is. Thank God they brought in the Lego Movie guys.
Yeah, hopefully. Like at this point, I think I'm giving the benefit of the doubt now to like all of the solo movies because Snyder, I'm not trusting for shit. The Wonder Woman movie, the clips that we've seen that they showed during that special on the CW or whatever the fuck, that already looks way more fucking interesting and and more well put together than freaking Bats versus Supes, where this movie is just a fucking video game at this point.
Well, I'm just like, okay, Wonder Woman's fighting Nazis. I'm assuming Danny Houston is playing Ares, and I'm going to assume that David Thewlis is playing Hitler because that would be amazing. And I hope Wonder Woman just stabs Hitler in the chest because fuck history.
Yeah, they have to. They might as well change it. Why keep it the same? You have all these heroes.
Yeah, it would be stupid, but I'm kind of hoping they do it. Is do with Chris Pine what the old TV show did, where they the first season was World War II, and then they decided after they cut the budget, all the new seasons are going to be present day, but we want to keep the same actors. So the guy playing Steve Trevor is just going to play Steve Trevor Jr. in the 70s. So have Chris Pine just play Steve Trevor the 4th in like 2016.
Amazing.
That would be pretty funny if they did that. Aquaman. Okay, they cast Jason Momoa. Hopefully he gets a good movie finally. Because I thought he would have been a good Conan if he had a decent script and a better director. But yeah, that one, and who gives a fuck about Cyborg? A Green Lantern Corps, maybe. Shazam, maybe. I don't know. Some of them are like, I don't really care.
Shazam's one I'm really excited about because finally we're gonna get a Superman movie that's gonna be good.
Yeah, but they've only cast the villains so far.
That's enough. You could cast The Rock as both fucking Shazam and whatever and Black Adam. I don't care.
Yeah, he's playing Black
Adam.
I don't know if he can play evil though. Is the thing, but okay, but yeah. Aside from that, unproduced Batman. Since we went on and on about this, I'll just do the ones that were after Batman and Robin that had scripts. There was Batman. It was on the internet. It was always called Triumphant, but the writer says it was called Unchained, which would have brought all the villains back as a fear gas hallucination with either Nick Cage or Jeff Goldblum playing Scarecrow, and like Courtney Love as Harley Quinn, who's the Joker's daughter out for revenge, and she's a toy maker. Well, Harley Quinn as a character would be kind of fucked trying to fit her into that old series, anyways, with the Joker being dead and everything. And like Clooney would have been back and stuff, and it sounds like they were trying to at least pull back from the silliness of Batman and Robin and do something a little bit more serious. And then after that, they went for a lower budget version called Dar Knight, DARKNIGHT, which is a stupid title, but it sounded cool. It would have been Scarecrow again, and Man-Bat would have been part of it. Which I'm like, and they wanted Terrence Stamp to play Man-Bat, which I like Terrence Stamp, but why him as Man-Bat?
Just as the scientist, Langstrom, might as well.
Go for him for Scarecrow, or whatever, I don't know. And then after that, they went the weird route where it was like, it was the Aronofsky year one, but they were also working on maybe doing Batman Beyond, and then the Wachowskis pitched a year one, and then eventually Batman Begins happened instead, which we're better off for, really.
It's pretty fucking hilarious how all of these freaking movies that didn't get made are so fucking insane, especially year one, that in the end they just go, okay, let's just make the version that everybody fucking knows instead of going batshit crazy. Because I don't know how the hell they went from, okay, maybe we're thinking of this freaking Batman Year One thing where he's like, oh my god, that whole script was fucking nuts. It was so nuts, and I loved it, but it was nuts. So I don't know, like, I always hear about these like unmade movies happening where the movie that we get is basically the most normal and basic one, and everybody is fine with it. But then when you look back at all the unproduced shit, it's just a bunch of fucking crazy madness. I don't understand why that always happens.
Because the approach that Warner Brothers was taking was throwing literally everything at the wall and seeing what stuck, which they kind of kept doing for a while. But okay, get back into Superman. Superman scripts, there's a shitload of these from the early 90s, and I could probably make several episodes because all of them are on the internet practically. There was a project which started around 1990, which was supposed to be, which the Salkinds were putting together, and it was supposed to be Superman 5. And it was going to be Superman Reborn, and they wanted to do another Christopher Reeve one, but they couldn't get the funding or something. And the storyline was Brainiac comes down, and he bottles Metropolis, and then he fights Superman in the bottled Metropolis, and then like disintegrates him, and then he somehow transfers over to Kandor, which is, for those of you who don't know, that's the Kryptonian city that Brainiac has in the bottle for some reason. And so he transfers over to Kandor and he reconnects with his culture, but then he has to go back and defeat Brainiac and free the cities or something. And they did him dying and coming back before the comics did. So how's that sound?
Freaking DC at it again.
Yeah, how's that script sound to you? I mean, it'll be in an episode later on.
Well, it kind of sounds similar to the most recent. I think it's the most recent animated Superman movie, the one where Brainiac shows up, and because he does like Metropolis. I think Metropolis shrinks down. I can't remember.
Yeah, I've seen the clip because Lois is in the bottle and she gives Brainiac the finger.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was a Jeff Johns comic, I think it was based on.
Yeah, so this script like sounds pretty familiar, like from that. I don't know if Johns like took from that at all or not, but I don't know if it's vague, if it's pretty much the same. I guess it's probably good, but it depends on the rest of this shit, because if the characters are portrayed like idiots, like how this script portrays some of the interactions with Batman and Superman,
I don't know.
You know, it's okay.
It was written by a couple
of
comic writers, I think. Cary Bates, I think his name was. I don't know. And then, that folded, and then eventually, you know, as we saw in the Death of Superman Lives documentary, Warner Brothers finally got a hold of the rights to Superman again from Canon, and they started working. They kept the Superman Reborn title because they wanted to do Death of Superman because that was big. And you have the Jonathan Lemkin Superman Reborn draft, which only about 60 pages of it are on the internet. But I read an interview where Lemkin said he was just, you know, doing experimental stuff with it, and he said that, like, after Superman dies, like, something of his genetic essence or something transfers over into Lois, and she gets magically pregnant and, like, really quickly gives birth, and then he grows into the reborn Superman. Which, if that were a full script, I'd love to do an episode on, but only those 60 pages are out. And then there was the Greg Poirier drafts, which my understanding is that he comes back in that through some sort of experiment, but I'm vague on the details. That's the one that Kevin Smith read and said, "Man, this is awful. Did your fucking cousin write this? Can you get the money back?" And then, of course, after that we get, you know, Superman Lives, which was Kevin Smith, which, you know, it was Brainiac and Doomsday, and his version was all right. It wasn't great, but it was pretty decent. And one of the drafts, there's an intro on Krypton, and one of the Kryptonian council members is named Dante, because Kevin Smith. So I guess that guy was not supposed to be on Krypton that day. And in the last draft he wrote, there's the governor of whatever state Metropolis is named Caitlin Bree, which was Dante's girlfriend from Clerks. The girl who fucked the corpse. And then I think it was either John Peters or Tim Burton said they didn't like Kevin Smith's script, so they threw it out, and then they brought in Wesley Strick, which kept the same basic plot, including the giant spider, but it's really, really stupid, and it tries to be gloomy and funny at the same time, and it doesn't work. And there's a scene where, like, Superman comes out in his robot suit, and the script describes him as a hip-hop Phantom of the Opera. And, like, there's a lot of really terrible jokes and one-liners throughout it. And I don't want to go on any more on that. And I haven't read the Gilroy drafts or the William Wisher drafts, which that was after Tim Burton left, but Nick Cage still stayed on. And then there was one called, like, Superman the Man of Steel by Alex Ford, which I've heard is, like, a really terrible, just by the numbers Superman. And then there was Superman Flyby, which was J.J. Abrams, which you've probably heard of, where Krypton doesn't explode, and like Jor-El's in prison on Krypton, and that'll be an episode down the line, because that should be fun. It sounded really stupid. Yeah, J.J. Abrams back then, not as good as he is now. And so, yeah, and then, you know, that was what was going on, because basically what was going on at the time was Flyby was one of the projects that was competing along with Batman Year One and Batman vs. Superman, and there was these two competing schools of thought among Warner Brothers executives where they were saying, oh, we can have the Versus movie and spin that off into two franchises. But then there was the other school of thought that said, hey, we can just have two franchises to begin with and make twice as much money, and that was what won out eventually. And I'll talk about potential casting for this after we're done talking about the script, because that's something that doesn't make sense when we get down to it.
Yeah, because I don't have any information about this script besides the script itself.
I'll get into that.
Hearing the casting or whatever casting they probably might have wanted.
Yeah, I'll do that at the end. But Wolfgang Peterson was attached to direct. The guy did Das Boot, and he later on did Poseidon and Troy, and he did The Perfect Storm as well.
All right.
Yeah, he was all right. Apparently, actually, I'll go into that little bit of information later on. But okay, let's get into the script itself. Do you want to start?
Sure. Why not? Let's see what we think, right? Okay. All right. So this freaking Batman vs. Superman script, which is simply titled Asylum, like you wouldn't know that it's Batman vs. Superman unless you read based upon Warner Brothers characters created by
yada yada yada. It was a code name.
This this script is just it's so boring. It really is boring. Like, there's like some cool things that they could have done. Like the beginning is just nuts. Like not even 5 minutes into the movie, you get like this entire scene with these terrorists and Superman trying to save the day, and in the end completely mucking it up to the point where you get this scene where he nabs the head terrorist guy, and he's fucking flying him over the
river.
Water
he's
for some fucking reason.
The Metropolis River.
Yeah, he gets blasted with kryptonite dust or something, and then the fucking villain just falls into the water. You presume he's dead, and then you're like, oh no, he's actually wearing a mask.
He was wearing a ski mask, and the face under the ski mask was also a mask. So it's Mission Impossible now. And,
so I was just like, okay.
And he fucked up even before that, because he completely fails to stop the bomb from going off. Like, he's like flying to get there, and some poor security guard gets blown up because Superman was too slow, and he seems more, instead of saving people's lives, he's more interested in making sure the Freedom Monument is in one piece.
Yeah, freaking Soups, I don't know what the fuck, the whole divorce thing probably got into his head too much.
And then there was, like, weird shit, like one of the other reporters calling Clark a dickhead, and then he goes looking for a place to change, and he runs into two people making out in the supply closet. Yeah,
I don't understand that. I guess bits of humor, but I'm like,
no, I did think it was pretty cool when he dives down the elevator shaft and just rips through his clothes. That was pretty cool, but the whole scene is like, wow, Superman, you're just fucking up.
That actually happens on Supergirl, like one of the episodes.
She dives down an elevator shaft?
Yeah, she dives down. I think it's the same episode where she loses her powers, maybe, because every fucking superhero show has to have that episode.
Flash has had it like 3 times already.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And
I hate those episodes, man. They're so dumb. I don't like that when they do that.
I'm waiting for them to do it to everybody on Legends of Tomorrow. Even the ones who don't have superpowers.
Eventually.
Sarah just can't kick ass anymore.
Maybe, I don't know.
But, I have a... And then, like, okay, because the terrorist leader, he pushes a button which blows out the tire because he wants to be caught. So, yeah, this actually existed. But getting caught on purpose existed before The Dark Knight and Skyfall.
Yeah, like, the entire plan in this fucking script is just mental. Like, as you go through it, you're like, I don't understand how any of this would have worked. I still don't. I don't get what the plan was.
But it's so stupid. It's not really explained well, and it doesn't make any sense.
It really is. Like, kind of like rewinding back a little bit, the one thing that I found interesting, like, near the beginning was, like, how Clark is, like, down and out on his luck. And you have Bruce is like supremely fucking happy, right? He's like,
that was so weird. It's like you're trying to spin off different franchises from this by completely inverting the characters.
Yeah, but then they invert them back anyway. Like Superman, like fucking, he's doing his shit he's doing his shit. He doesn't want to be Superman anymore. And then at the same time, you have Bruce, because of what happened to his wife, who just inadvertently gets killed because, so Batman has to come back or some bullshit. Then Bruce is like, gets super fucking angry, and then he just, like, goes back to being Batman. And this is where it lost me, because later on, you kind of figure out what's going on in the script, and then for some, like, Bruce, he goes on this fucking tirade about, I'm gonna kill the fucker who fucking did this. I'm they're gonna die, and it's like, oh shit, Bruce is, he's gonna
Clark is like, someone. It's a trap. He goes like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Like, these two guys have been doing superhero bullshit for, I'm just gonna say 10 years. I'm gonna assume it's 10 years because it's been many fucking years for sure. At this point, I do not think that Bruce would be this childish, where he would not stop and think of what's happening, and instead just lets his fucking emotions get to him to the point where he's saying where he just tells Superman off.
You know who he reminds? You know who he?
I don't believe
who he reminds me of? Fucking Quentin in season 3 of Arrow, who just turned into a douchebag.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, you have this level-headed dude who has reasons to be pissed, you know? And then, like, over time, he grows up a little bit. But then for some fucking reason, he has to start acting like a childish moron, and this completely just clouds everything. Like, for him to see, like, it's clear that it's a fucking trap, and Bruce doesn't care. He's like, I don't give a shit. You get in my way, I'll kill you too. It's like, what? Why? Why the fuck would he be acting like this to Clark at all? If they were younger, I would believe it. I'd be going, okay, maybe if they were like in their first or second or third year as superheroes, and then all of this shit went down, then okay, you know, I'll believe Bruce being a dickhead and Clark saying, no, Bruce, stop, and then Bruce going, no, fuck you. I'll believe it then. But here, where they're both pretty old already, like middle-aged men who should be smarter than they are in the script.
And okay,
it should be, but they don't act like it.
Bruce is really childish, and here's what I hate about Clark in this script, is that this script never misses an opportunity for him to just soapbox about something. Like, at the beginning, the terrorist is like, he gets caught by a mob, because apparently the people of Metropolis are now the people of Gotham, and they're going to, like, beat him to death. And Clark is like, no, you can't do this, this is wrong. He can't just say that and then fly away. He has to give this huge, preachy speech to them. And then at the end, he's doing the same shit to Bruce. I'm like, if I were Bruce, I would go back and start punching him in the face again, because this guy is annoying. He's almost turning into Steven Seagal in On Deadly Ground with his fucking preaching. Like, shut up, Clark, you're annoying.
That's all he does in the script. Even when he's alone back in his fucking farm, it's just like he's just like, you know, wallowing like, oh, I shouldn't be Superman anymore.
Yes,
oh, look at all this bullshit.
And on top of that, I hate Superman in the script because he does nothing. He spends like a third of the script slumming it in Smallville. Like, dude, you should be investigating, trying to figure out what's going on and trying to help your friend. Nope, he fucks off to his farm, sits in his fucking bedroom. Of course, he still sleeps in his old room, even though both his parents are dead. He mopes around. He takes a brief side quest to rescue this drowning kid because, of course, they need to pad it out with a rescue scene. And then he fucks Lana Lang.
Yeah, and not like Soups in the script does literally nothing. In the beginning, he fucks up bad, and then throughout the whole movie, it's him doing nothing. No Superman bullshit until that moment where he has to save that kid. And even then, that was after like 20 fucking pages of him like being on the fucking farm, just fucking going, oh shit, you know, just thinking about him, just thinking. It's just him thinking, and it's like not even interesting because we've already had this whole thing about, oh, should Superman be doing all of this stuff? Should Superman be like the only person that could say you can't die, but you can, or some bullshit like that? Because that's what he's thinking in the script. You know, he's thinking, should he be like an authority of this or not? For some dumb reason. I don't even know why he was like thinking this. Just fucking be Superman, dude.
And like, okay, it makes sense that, you know, oh, he accidentally let that guy go and that would kind of fuck with his head a little bit. But like, it's like they didn't know what to do with Superman in this story, so they just had him slum it in Smallville. Now, he does have a good reason for going there, and that he does this thing that doesn't really make any sense where he's analyzing the kryptonite dust for DNA in the mask. But I'm like, he could have just gone to Smallville, done that shit, and gotten right back to the plot, and we would have lost nothing. Except for, honestly, you know what I think the Smallville interlude is? Because, okay, he's fucks Lana Lang, and there's this implication that mentions that they knew Lex as kids. Was Smallville on in 2002?
It was on a year before.
Oh, okay, so it was on. That's what this part of the script is. It's pandering to the Smallville fans, the Declana shippers.
But I actually think that kind of works. The whole Lana and Superman thing, that's the only thing that I really liked about this whole 20-page fucking BS with Clark, is like, once Lana is introduced to this, like, she seems, like, I really like her personality. I think that's it. I like her personality in this, and I'm going, Superman, please get with this woman because she's fucking awesome. Like, legit serious. I like Lana in this script, and it's probably the only thing in this script that I actually like. I don't know why, but her personality in this really jumped out to me because it's like it's more normal. It's more normal than anything else.
But my whole thing with that
this.
is that I didn't mind her personality. I didn't even necessarily mind her chemistry, but it was so boring. I found it to be so painfully boring because I'm like, in a thing called Batman versus Superman, Asylum. I don't want to read about Superman sitting around in his kitchen eating Chinese food in a way that's described. It looks like it's described like it's a goddamn coffee commercial.
It's so funny. It's almost funny because doesn't Clark do all of this after he comes to after like Bruce is on his honeymoon or whatever the fuck on the beach, right? Some bullshit. His wife gets murdered when off screen. Like he comes back after doing something. He comes back and she's dead. There's like a fucking yellow and black striped dart that he finds. And then apparently there's like this blood smeared on the wall, right? It says something that really doesn't matter. It says this is the beginning of the end,
which is what was written on the inside of the mask, and that's how Bruce knows it's the same guy that Superman accidentally let go, and that's why he's all pissed at Clark.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Like that's really childish for him to go. You let this guy go. She's dead now because of you. Fuck you, Clark. Like at this point, it's a simple fucking. Well, it's a simple mistake to the point where it's like, oh god, it cost someone's life. But like, you would think that Bruce at his age would be saying, okay, Clark, this shit happened. Something's going on. We're gonna fucking team up, find out what the hell's happening, and kick their ass so hard that they wish they were never born. But instead of doing that, freaking Bruce like goes back to being this fucking angered, depressed bastard. Fucking Clark comes in to fucking say, hey, Bruce, cheer up, man, right?
And he's basically just like, fuck you.
And Bruce gets so mad at him. It's because of you. How do you get to decide who to judge? And because of this whole interaction where Bruce just tells him off, that's when he goes to that's when he does this, that's when Clark leaves, does this whole fucking thing where he's like, where he just thinks about, what Bruce said, which is fucking dumb. Like, how can this affect you so much, Clark? You've been through so much in your life at this point already as Superman that, come on, you've seen it all. This has already happened to you. They're not going to tell me that this is the first time that Superman is thinking, should I be doing this? No, that's what he should have been thinking back before he was Superman. Should I do this? And then he becomes,
Yes, and about Batman in this is that you're supposed to think you're supposed to be frustrated with him, but at the same time, I'm at least partly on his side because he's the only one who's getting anything done. Superman's just sitting around moping. He's going out investigating, kicking ass, and the scenes where he's kicking criminal ass are pretty awesome because it's so brutal. It's almost Frank Miller-esque.
Yeah, I like his dialogue. Batman's dialogue in this when he goes to fight the bad guys. I really don't like it because I just can't. I don't know why. I can't imagine like Bruce like saying any of the fucking words that he says.
The dialogue isn't great, but it was pretty awesome. Him beating the shit out of these guys and sticking Toyman's good hand in the vise. Which, by the way,
like the Toyman thing.
Although, by the way, I have to say, anyone who doesn't know the DC universe and watches this movie is going to be, who the fuck is Toyman?
Yeah, he's basically just, this guy who
built the bumblebees.
Weapons of just mass destruction or whatever.
Yeah, he made them for the Joker, basically. And that's where you get to reveal it's not someone who's impersonating the Joker and using his methods. It actually is the Joker, according to him. And we'll get more into that later. But, yeah, Toyman isn't really explained at all. He's just there. And to back up a bit and talk more about Batman, this is very loosely connected to the original Batman series. So, okay, let me rattle this down for you. The Joker was Jack Napier, and he's dead, so you're assuming this is following on from 89. And Robin is mentioned, so you're assuming this is loosely following Forever. However, the whole thing about Clark saying, oh, you've always avoided killing and you never wanted to be this monster, if he didn't set a dude on fire in Batman Returns and blow a guy up, I would buy that, but no. But, like, you have this weird thing where it's like, okay, the Joker, it's supposed to be Jack Nicholson's Joker, but it's not. And Bruce Wayne is older, but he's not really acting like that Bruce Wayne at all. And Barbara Barbara is Barbara Gordon and not whatever the hell she was in Batman and Robin. Like, okay.
Well, Batgirl. Yeah, like, she's the commissioner
so someone
now,
was watching,
so
someone was watching
just by
Batman
that,
Beyond.
which should be fucking made into a movie,
They
but we'll never
did.
get that.
I mean, hell, if Grant Morrison could fit Batman Beyond into his whole Batman dark future bullshit, we can make it into a movie. But yeah, so we have that, and it just doesn't add up in the slightest, that this connection to the old Batman movies. Not at all.
That's the only connection, is just the name, that's it, because
And
I
then
don't know why.
like,
I don't know why they had to do that. They could have just said, oh, the Joker died a long time ago during some fight with Batman.
Or make it
been
that
the
it
same
was
thing.
the Joker who killed Robin. Who was Nightwing at the time, apparently, because they mentioned the Nightwing costume. But make it that it was the Joker who killed Dick, and then Bruce got mad and then killed the Joker, and that's why he gave up, because he crossed the line again.
He crossed the line, and then nothing but 5 years of happiness.
Yes, and I have to talk about this. This is another thing that's kind of an echo of the old Batman movies, is the cookie-cutter love interest, which they tried to do something clever with here, which we'll get to. But I did not buy the tragedy of this woman's death in the slightest, because we barely spend any time with her, and she's so sickeningly perfect, I just didn't care. It's like, who is this woman?
Much.
How does Bruce know her? Why does he care? Why should I care? It's just, she's just a woman who is there. She's his pet, which Bruce Wayne always had cookie-cutter love interests in these movies, with the exception of Catwoman, who was sort of interesting. I mean, I don't mind Vicky Vale, but she is basically a damsel. I don't like slutty psychiatrist chick, and whoever what's-her-face was in Batman and Robin, who just leaves him halfway through.
God, I can't even remember that one.
It was Elle McPherson playing her, right? Yeah, she's like there, and he's like, you're not telling me everything about yourself, so I'm gonna leave. So basically what Arrow did this last episode with Felicity. Only without the added fuck you of getting up out of the wheelchair and walking away. But I'm sorry, I just spoiled the plot point from Arrow. Not that anyone gives a shit at this point, but oh god, but yeah, so you had that, but it's like, it's carrying on the tradition of just giving him a love interest that doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, who cares?
Yeah, like, there's no point to the character besides, oh, we have to kill her off so that Bruce could get mad and become Batman again.
But,
yeah, pretty much.
It's such a nothing relationship. I don't care. And then you have the weird bit where I gotta point this out. She kisses Barbara on the cheek, and Bruce is like, "Could you do that again?" Which is that referencing the fact that in Batman Beyond he had a thing with Barbara?
I think he did in this script. Like, there's moments where when Barbara shows up to talk to Bruce, where it kind of feels like they did have a thing, and which is something that they actually did have on the. I think that they had that on the show
Batman
or
Beyond,
something.
it came up. It happened in between the original series and.
All right, because I don't even remember that, but I do remember that they touched up on that anime movie where it's Batman versus the Batwoman or something.
I didn't see
but
that
it's like,
one.
Yeah, there's like a scene where Bruce is talking to Barbara, and I think she's getting him embarrassed or something because she's saying some things to him over the phone. I'm like fucking Bruce, man, just cucking freaking Robin like crazy.
But they had already broken up because Dick was a whiny douchebag. but you see, I haven't actually seen that part of Batman Beyond. I just saw people whining about it on the internet saying, he's with Dick's girl. I'm like, well, Dick was a whiny bastard who grew a mullet and then left her, so.
Yeah, and it's not like it doesn't make sense.
He is Batman. Who wouldn't? And she was very visibly crushing on Batman in the original animated series, because the second Batgirl episode begins with her daydreaming about a romantic encounter with Batman. But okay, off of that tangent, I did like the scene where she comes to the Batcave and she's like, if you go and kill the Joker, I'm taking you down.
Yeah, and then Bruce has to be a fucking idiot and just like pushing people away.
That actually wasn't a bad scene.
It wasn't a bad scene, but the fact that Bruce is a fucking childish bastard, that just having that added on top of everything else, I'm just like, God damn it, Bruce. Just fucking stop and think for fucking once in this damn script. Yeah. All he's doing is pushing everybody away, doing his regular Batman thing, breaking bones and bodies and shit while investigating on, who made this fucking toxin thingamabob or whatever the fuck. And then he somehow gets to Toyman and he fucking tortures the shit out of Toyman. And I can't even remember what the aftermath of that is, because does the building blow up or something?
He gets some. I forget what happened. Something like someone sent like a toy plane to kill Toyman, and then it didn't work. That was what happened, I think. But then he gets out of there, and he goes to dig up the Joker's grave, and like a Jack and this is intercut with Clark carrying Lana Lang into bed, by the way, which is hilarious. And he digs it up, and he opens it.
They cut to Soups and Batman like so many times during this fucking moment. Cause it's supposed to be this big ass moment once Bruce finally like opens the grave or some shit.
Joker head Jack in the Box that pops out, and then he it's described as he throws his arms up in the air and goes, ah.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And he did the same thing when he cradled Elizabeth's body in his arms and went, ah, which is the same thing that happens in the first 5 minutes of Samurai Cop 2.
Like that is so fucking dumb. It's like just like cartoon cliche bullshit.
It happens in the first 5 minutes of Samurai Cop 2. No.
Yeah. But it
made more sense in that movie, and nothing made sense in that movie. But yeah, so he does that, and then the next thing I remember really happening was that the terrorist guy and his two minions who are called the Jeeves, who have their mouths stitched shut, and I believe they're super strong.
Yeah, because they have super speed too, or some bullshit, like which I just said whatever.
They're basically Barakapool from X-Men Origins.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then, they steal the bat signal, and apparently that pisses off Bruce Wayne so much he goes and chases after them. And then the guy, the terrorist guy, takes his fake face off, and it's the Joker, only he acts nothing like the Jack Nicholson Joker, so that connection doesn't make sense again. And so there's this long, long car chase, and then he's on top of the van, and then they, beat the shit out of him and then leave him, broken in the road. Yeah. I'm like, Batman's getting his ass kicked by someone who isn't Bane? What the hell?
Yeah, he gets his ass kicked so hard to the point where Joker's about to straight up kill him, and then the Jeeps pull him away. He's like, they're like, right.
That's not part of the plan.
Yeah, it's so dumb. I have, about the plan. At this point, I don't know, because I really don't know how the hell this happened. Somehow Superman he figures something out, and then he goes to see Lex.
When he did that weird thing with the mask, I was confused by this too, because it pulled the kryptonite dust off and it formed a Joker face, so I'm guessing this was just meant to be symbolic, because the data he got sends him to the DNA information he got from the kryptonite engine of his spaceship, which I don't know how they put kryptonite in the engine of the Kryptonian spaceship when kryptonite didn't exist until Krypton blew up, but... Yeah.
Oh, right, wait. I think he finds the the whole kryptonite thing just makes him think about Lex, right? Because in his mind he's like, okay, who's the person on this fucking planet that could get kryptonite and
he
fucking,
pulled DNA off the kryptonite, and it was because it was
he had
I don't want to look at this sundial device and find out what's going on, Lana, and then the dumb tornado thing happens, and then it's weird how it's done. Then he goes to talk to Lex, who's in prison. And by the way, this is over halfway through the script. And Lex basically tells him that there was a government project called Project Achilles' Heel, where something about putting kryptonite dust in satellites. It's basically having a countermeasure against Superman in case he went bad, and Lex was part of it. And it's apparently the whole government was thinking about taking out Supes, I think before even Lex did, and then he just mocks him with that or some bullshit. Okay, and you want to know what happens here is that he gets this interview in exchange for letting Lex have a conversation with his lawyer in the cell.
Yeah, it's okay, and then something weird fucking happens. I don't know what the fuck that whole thing with Lex was apparently he has his nails, right? They're sort of long or something. I wasn't
sure what he did.
And then somehow, he does something to the lawyer's neck.
He kills the lawyer.
He does I think
he kills him and shaves his head to make him look like Lex, and then hangs him.
And he uses his nails to do that, to take him out. and then he just walks away with the lawyer's clothes, right? As the security walks in. It's so fucking.
This is the shittiest prison ever. They should have put him on Leon Yu. with the two superpowered Australians, but before that, he confesses to his lawyer that he cloned and he explains it in a really dumb way that he cloned the Joker as a means of playing Batman and Superman off against each other, so Batman could take down Superman, and then the Joker would get to kill Bat.
Is that really what happened? He cloned them? Because I don't remember any of that. Well, I honestly thought that he said that he somehow was able to revive him or some shit.
He said you'd be surprised what a DNA sample and a few $1 billion would do. So it was really quickly explained. But he brought him back and said Joker would get to kill Batman, which the Joker shouldn't want to do after their first encounter. But whatever, it's loosely connected to 89, so fuck it. And there's more to this plot. But Superman fucked up again, and is the reason why Lex escapes from prison.
Yeah, and it's so dumb. This plan is so fucking stupid because the entire plan is to clone Joker, have Joker kill Batman's wife or whatever, and somehow, well, because Lex knows that Bruce is Batman, but he's like, oh, well, I would lose in court or something.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But anyway, he says some stupid shit like that. So the plan is clone Joker, have Joker kill Batman's wife, and then somehow this will have Batman and Superman fighting to the death or something, like, because the Joker attacked Superman with the whole terrorist thing. So this puts them, okay, there's something going on here, and then for some reason, so they'll go and kill each other. That's my plan. That's the fucking plan, and it makes no sense. There's so many assumptions here. You would assume, like, you're assuming that Bruce and Clark are gonna fucking fight each other to the death, which is something that, ends happening, but it's such a dumb plan because this would never fucking really happen. It wouldn't happen. I don't believe for a second that at this point, like, if I were Lex, I would never be thinking, well, this clearly, all of this bullshit is clearly gonna end with them fighting to the death somehow. It's so dumb.
Now, and also I should mention, about Superman going to talk to Lex Luthor in his cell. Sorry, Grant Morrison, Andrew Kevin Walker got there first. But okay, also at the same time, it turns out that Batman has a secret hidden camera in Lex's cell, and he sees the conversation between Superman and Lex, but he apparently bugs out of there before he sees Lex confess to what's going on, and he goes to Project Achilles' Heel and steals some kryptonite, which is kind of a decent action scene. And pretty much what you find out what he does is that he takes the kryptonite and somehow bonds it with this suit of armor he's wearing. And I should mention, in the Batcave, Alfred is dead, but he has holographic AI Alfred in the Batcave talking to him. So basically, it's Alfred is now Jarvis.
And it's kind of like, I don't know what the hell to even think about that, because apparently this AI must have like something going on with it, because there's a point where Alfred is supposed to say sir, but instead he says son to Bruce. So I'm like, is this hologram like learning or some bullshit like that, or it's now legit Alfred, but without his body now, like completely.
He's like that guy. He's like that guy on Agent Carter now.
It's I don't know. They should have done more with that. I think
put it in there.
Well, they had to, because this fucking script is fucking insane.
We didn't need Alfred being Jarvis. Would this lead to a sequel where Alfred turns into DC's version of Vision? That would be awesome. But okay, so basically Batman, he laces the kryptonite into the suit somehow, and then he gets a message from the Joker saying they're going to fight in Metropolis, and then they get everybody to hide indoors. Stay off the streets, there's a curfew. And so he goes there to go find the Joker, and then Superman finally gets off his ass and does something and goes to stop Batman. And then the fight happens. And it happens, and it happens, and it keeps going, and going, and going, and going. Dear Lord, this fight, it takes forever, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes through everything. There's, like, building bullshit happening. Like Batman's just kicking the shit out of Supes because the kryptonite armor.
And then, like, Superman tries to, like, fly up away from him, and then Batman grapples onto him, and then they're fighting in midair, and then because of the kryptonite, they start falling out of midair, and then Superman rips up a street sign, starts beating up Batman, and they punch and punch and punch. There's all sorts of shit going on. This is like a 10, 15-page fight scene. You don't need to describe the fight in this much detail. Allow room for improvisation.
Yeah, this whole fight is so fucking long. Like, I was just thinking back, god damn, George Lucas got away with just saying, they fight, they fight, they fight. But in the script, it's like, it's completely like a comic book where everything is described
John
or what's
Carpenter
happening.
did the same thing on They Live. For the fist fight, the big fist fight in the middle of the movie, he just had 5 pages that said, fight continues, fight continues.
That's brilliant. This, on the other hand, is just like, god damn.
Like, I understand describing it, but they describe every single little thing that's going to happen. Let Wolfgang Peterson, construct a scene, okay? Let the actors, work on it. So, okay.
Oh, and I love how Batman has, like, a bow and arrow.
It's a reference to Dark Knight Returns, like, where Green Arrow shows up.
He just reaches out on his back, and basically how season 4 of how season 3 of Arrow started. Remember where freaking Oliver's like running, and then like he has this little device on his hand, and then it just like transforms into the bow, which we never see again.
It was in I just sworn it was in Legends of Tomorrow this week in the future, because what I think is it Sarah who hands him the bow and it transforms, and Oliver with his shitty beard and old man makeup.
I think it's just compartmentalized a tiny bit. Because it's in a long ass box.
Maybe I was just too distracted by Oliver's terrible.
But it would have made more sense though if it was the small one.
Future and Oliver, because it's the future because Oliver has terrible hair dye and terrible old man makeup.
I honestly thought that he didn't have any makeup at all prior to this episode, because in the pictures that they released, it's just like, oh my god, they almost didn't do anything but give him the beard.
I'm now glad he doesn't have it on the regular show. But getting back on topic, yeah. Batman has a kryptonite arrow, which he shoots Superman in the shoulder with, and that takes him down. And supposedly it kills him. But then you find out that Batman ain't so dark after all, because the tip wasn't made of kryptonite, just the shaft. Which, that sounded incredibly gay when I said it right there. Just the tip, not the shaft.
But it's hilarious, because like the arrow, when it hits him, he like screams. He screams so loud that the fucking buildings, like the windows or whatever, like shatter and
Batman
shit.
breaks it off in him. And then yeah.
Oh, right.
And then Batman walks off and he goes to the monument that Superman helpfully put back in place at the beginning to fight the Joker. And I believe they fight a little bit, and then the reveal happens, or do they not fight?
Do they fight? I think they
do you want me to do the conversation then? Basically what happens is that Batman's being all, I hate you. You killed my one true love, even though I've had like 5 of them so far. And Joker is like, she was just a perfect woman, wasn't she, Brucey? I'm giving him way too much of a Hamill voice here. It's not good enough for that. But he goes like, perhaps a little too perfect, Bats. And then he's like, what? And then Joker reveals basically that I thought it was going to turn out that she was like a woman he grew in like a jar or something, that like Lex grew to be the perfect woman for Bruce. But no, she was just some woman they hired on to be in love with him. But the only thing she did that she wasn't, in on was that she had to die.
Yeah. Because otherwise, nobody would fucking, like, say, okay, I'll do it.
So, yeah, I guess this plot just got even more complicated, and then Bruce gets...
Oh, it's so funny because Batman doesn't believe a word, and then Joker's like, just look at your ring, right? The wedding ring. And then
he pulls out the ring,
and then Batman pulls out the ring, and he looks underneath it, and it's
like a ring of little Joker faces on the inside. How did you not notice that? The world's greatest detective.
Yeah, and that's what Joker says, and they call you a detective.
and then he starts beating the shit out of Joker, right? Like, he takes care of the goons too, right? And then Superman shows up, and that's when it's revealed that Bruce wasn't that hardcore, because he broke off the non-kryptonite tip. And then he's like, go ahead, it's not my decision. You make your own decision. Go ahead, kill him if you want to. And then he just turns into a preachy douchebag at the end. But you're gonna have to live with it, huh? At which point I just want him to punch Superman in the balls. Because, like, I hate Superman, this script, because people who don't understand Superman think he's like this, because he has godlike powers, they think that he has a strong moral code, they think that he's preachy, and that's not what he is. He's supposed to set an example, he's not supposed to be a teacher, he's supposed to lead by example, right? That's Superman. Not to be an asshole.
The script is just like, preach.
But then Batman relents and lets Joker live. And then the most frustrating, hilarious shit happens because it makes this entire script completely pointless. Lex shows up in his power suit, and then he just pitches Joker off the ledge and kills him. And at the end he gets wheeled off in a body bag, so you know he's dead. Wow, that whole thing was completely pointless because Lex just went boop. And then there's...
It's just so dumb, like, the entire thing.
And then
pointless. It's, like you said, pointless.
And then they team up and fight together against Lex, and they have like this buddy cop banter. I'm like, this isn't Lethal Weapon. It's not even good. It's not even good enough to be Lethal Weapon dialogue. They just start bantering back and forth. I'm like, shut up. And then they fight Lex, and then they're all hanging off the edge of the monument. And then Batman's about to fall, but then Clark saves him, but Lex falls, and then they're all cool, and then they check, and Lex has gone missing. Ooh. And then and Barbara Gordon shows up and takes away the Joker's body because the Joker's in my jurisdiction. And then they go like, and then Batman and Superman, they have their big bromance moment where they're like, Batman's like, you wanna go get a beer? And Clark's like, no, how about a soda or something? Then they walk off, not caring that Lex is on the list. The end.
Yeah, that's it. It's just,
that was
I don't know, dude.
Stupid.
Like reading this, I felt like this has to be the first draft of like 10 other drafts that came after this because because this thing is just so bland. Yes. It's so bland.
I don't expect bland from Andrew Kevin Walker.
Yeah, and can you imagine this fucking dialogue even being said by fucking actors? Good Lord.
And,
like,
okay.
As I was reading this, I was imagining in my head so many different ways that this thing could be made. I was thinking about this as a live action movie, and I'm going, nope. None of this is working. So I'm like, okay, let's switch to something else. How about as a cartoon? So now I'm thinking about the
this would not work there either.
This doesn't work like that either. As a comic book, it would be even worse.
Get Frank Miller to write it.
There are so many bad comics that this is like one. If this were a comic book, this would be like top 5 of just boring trash.
This should have been Dark Knight: The Master Race. Although I'm hearing that's actually getting good reviews. So.
Yeah. Like the first two issues are legit. I think the third one came out already, and people are talking about that a whole lot more. So I'm gonna check that one out soon because I need to know what the fuck is like happening. Where shit, this is pretty good. It's nothing like we thought it would be. Blah blah blah.
I saw Jed over at Batman on Film gave the third issue an A. So
God damn.
But yeah, he can be a bit. No, wait, I'm going to post this episode on Batman on Film Forum, so I'm not going to say anything about him. but yeah, so this script is just stupid. It's just a drawn out, boring excuse for them to fight. Like, there's no story being told here. It's just, I'm Batman and I'm an asshole. I'm Superman and I'm a mopey preachy asshole.
Exactly. There's absolutely no. I don't think there's no story to tell because all of this is just a fucking dumb melodramatic like set up to some fucking action figure fight that just ends dumb with a giant fucking robot suit that doesn't even last as long as a Superman and Batman fight. And that fight shouldn't have even lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to get into wrap up on this? Because I don't have anything else to say about the script.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you mentioned about casting choices.
The only actor that Wolfgang Peterson actually talked to was he asked Josh Hartnett to play Superman, which then, but now I can kind of see that working.
No wonder Josh Hartnett left Hollywood.
Like, I mean, he's kind of badass on Penny Dreadful, so maybe.
Yeah, yeah, like him coming back to that
Now,
was pretty
okay, since
awesome.
this is them late in their careers, it doesn't matter how young Superman is because he's just a young-looking dude. The guys they were looking at
Yeah.
for Batman, like I believe Colin Farrell is the one I read, and they actually gave the script to Christian Bale, but he indicated he would rather do Year One. So,
which anybody, and like that's the only real
yeah,
answer. Like
I
I'll do
would
Year
rather
One
do Year One
instead.
because that was crazy too, but it was way more interesting than this.
Yep. And the thing about that is that it worked. It was completely like different. It was still Batman in a way because
I mean,
Batman in name only. I
it was
guess
still
and
awful,
shit.
but
But
it was interesting.
yeah, and it was interesting. It's something that I wish would have gotten made because none of it made me go, God damn, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. This, on the other hand, there's nothing, and there's nothing good to say about the script. It's not that like you hate it. It's just like, oh God, I just wasted my time on 121 pages of this script that really said nothing.
It said nothing. It did nothing. It was just bam, bam. We're better off not getting this. We're better off not getting year. We're probably better off not getting Year One because then we would never have gotten any more Batman movies ever. And we're better off not getting Flyby, where Superman does a Jesus thing at the end, which we'll do that down the line. So there's this, and then also one of the things I heard about this was that Paul Dini was on Fat Man on Batman, and you can find the clip about this on YouTube where he talked to Kevin Smith about how he got brought in on this project very briefly. And what killed his involvement was the fact that he tried to write a scene near the end where Lois and Clark got back together, but there was some objection. Someone didn't like the way he did it, and so he just kind of fell away from the project.
That's the only thing he probably could have done, just that scene, because if Paul Dini probably would have rewrote the whole fucking thing if he could, because this thing is dumb.
Maybe he could have rewritten Arkham Knight too and given it an ending that wasn't stupid. But you haven't gotten the 100% ending, so you have no clue what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll have to wait because I already have the game uninstalled, so I'm just gonna wait until
it's not worth playing through all that shit to get that ending. Trust me.
But I still gotta.
It makes zero sense. How could I, this is off topic, but the only way I can describe it to you that would make any sense, like, you know how people, when Dark Knight Rises came out, people were banging on about how the ending had to be a dream, blah, 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 it has to be ambiguous, and then everyone involved with the movie was like, no, that's stupid. It's ambiguous like that would have been, just stupidly ambiguous. Just, right. you know what I mean. But alright, Batman vs. Superman, Asylum. Because, of course this shares a name with the Asylum. This is the Asylum version of a Batman vs. Superman.
This is so dumb. I don't like that I don't like that title. I don't care if it's a code name. It's a dumb code name.
You wanna know what was a dumb code name for a movie? The Ninja Turtles reboot was codenamed The Blue Door. And that's the one which has Colonel Schrader in it instead of Shredder.
Oh, right. That shit got so many people angry.
I just got my hands on that like last week.
Probably better than what we got bullshit anyway.
Forgettable bullshit movie. And now we're getting Oliver Queen, the Oliver Queen version of Casey Jones. Fuck, I brain farted there for a second. Him just doing the Chipper Oliver thing in the trailer. Hey guys! Oh god, that movie looks better than it should be, but I don't care. Okay, we're done with that. Predictions. Do you think that the Batman vs. Superman movie we're getting will be better than this?
I think that it is, because just by looking at what happened. They
have a better reason for fighting.
And the trailers. Yeah, they have a better reason for fighting. Bruce has like a reason to be pissed because he's taking the initiative.
He's being manipulated by who's ever sending him those creepy messages, and his life is all fucked up because of Jason Todd and being there in Metropolis.
Yeah, so it makes sense. I don't know what kind of story they're gonna really pull off with that. Besides, oh hey look, we're gonna be the Justice League now. But we'll see. I'm definitely gonna go see it. I already hate it, but I'm gonna go see it because
I'm cautiously optimistic because it's one of those things where I kind of like what I'm seeing, but I still have like alarm bells going off. Now, okay, here's the big question: was this script worse than Man of Steel? Because I'm gonna say it's not. I'm gonna say it is worse than Man of Steel, but it'll be funnier to hear your opinion on it. So.
I guess it has to be,
well,
but like I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna say that I hate this script as much as I hate Man of Steel, but this script is worse than the movie because at least the movie had interactions that made some kind of sense in what Snyder was doing and all that stuff. Like Snyder, like that movie, like sort of knows what Superman's about, but it made it its own thing where people still got mad about it anyway, like I did. But at least that thing knew what the fuck it was doing. This script, on the other hand, is honestly just some person writing dramatic stuff for no reason, and then having action figure fights that just happen with stupid teenage dialogue thrown in.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. This script is just dumb. It really is. It's like I don't know what the hell was going on in anyone's mind through this. I wish I knew what they were fucking thinking when they read it, because this cannot be the only script about this at all. There's no fucking way it can't. I wish there was more so I could see what changed or what didn't.
I'd like to see what it was before the Akiva Goldsman revisions, just so we know what he contributed.
Yeah. So basically, what we've been saying. This script didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. It's a waste of time. Complete waste of time.
Yes, it is a waste of time. And well, that's it. Until next, I'm gonna come back with next month with my anniversary episode, which I'm not gonna say what it is yet. I'm gonna keep it a bit of a surprise, but it's gonna be a bit of an event. I'm gonna be working on that. And until next time, I got my email address for this podcast down below, screenplayarchaeology@outlook.com. If you got any comments, questions, etc., you can send them there. I got the links to the Facebook page, the Tumblr blog, and the Twitter, and I'll be linking to the RSS feed now, so check that out. And well, until the next episode, bye.